Hey, how's it going, guys? Welcome to Kicking Balls FC post-game edition, a day after the United States actually won a friendly against a World Cup participation nation, Morocco. So it was a 3-0 final score. And we're going to go down to see, what I liked about the game, what I didn't like about the game, and, so on. You know, Also some interesting comments that, Christian Pulisic did, and he's getting a lot of heat, but also at the same time, a lot of support, right? So let's get started with the game, right? So in the game, the United States started with a 4-3-3 formation. So you had Matt Turner in goal. You had Robinson as a left back, Long and Zimmerman as center backs, and then Reggie Cannon as a right back. Then you had Musa, Adams, and Aronson on the midfield. Adams being in the middle, and then you had Pulisic, Ferreira, and Weah as the forwards, but making Pulisic a winger, Weah a winger, and then Ferreira as a lone striker, right? So Morocco is not a bad team, guys. I think the score kind of hides the fact that Morocco actually played pretty poorly that game yesterday. I think in another opportunity or maybe another circumstance, I think they would have probably maybe even scored first because it was a little shaky, I would say, in certain moments. But if it wasn't for Matt Turner's good goalkeeping, I think we would have seen a different game. But overall, for the first 10 minutes of the game, the United States had a very good control of the ball. Right, there was really good movement. They were already trying to, test the goalkeeper Bono, and Bono made some really good saves from the Moroccan, side. And what's interesting is I believe his club team is from Sevilla, I believe, right? So he was doing some really good stuff. And then Hakimi, he was the one that we were kind of looking out for because he was the one from the PSG man, but he actually got burnt a lot from Jedi Robinson. So it was really, really good to see that Jedi wasn't intimidated, and now that he's going to be playing in the Premier League next season, that also is going to boost up his confidence as well. He's going to actually get tested with higher opposition, with a higher, bigger teams than just the championship. So, as the game goes on, after 10 minutes, and Morocco kind of gets a little bit of the ball, there have been many mistakes. Aaron Long, and many times there have been where he actually was very late. He was kind of you can kind of tell he hasn't been with the team that long. He's still trying to build chemistry with Zimmerman, but a lot of his positioning was just really awful in a way. He did track back, by the way. He did have to bail Turner a couple of times. I'll admit that, but overall, I don't think he was that impressive in my opinion, right? Um, but Reggie Cannon, he was very quiet that evening. Zimmerman doing Zimmerman things really good. He did a very good, long ball pass with Christian Pulisic, and then that goal, that sequence where Zimmerman he got the ball, he automatically was looking at the field. He had like that freaking eagle vision, and he already knew where everybody was positionally wise. And he saw Christian Pulisic. He only looked up just for that moment, and Christian kind of said in the interview he just locked eyes and he knew exactly what Christian wanted. He basically got the long ball. Christian got the ball, wonderful touch, went past three defenders. One slip. There was another one that was trying to get him, and another one that was trying to close in. Gave the pass, and then Aronson was there to finish it off. Pretty amazing stuff. Aronson, in the middle, was actually a pretty good breath of fresh air. He's actually been practicing being, an inside midfielder than a wide midfielder with his club team. But now that he's moving up to Leeds, that will be an interesting move, and see how Jesse Marsh is going to groom him for Premier League. So that would be good because I think Aronson will need that help, going into the Premier League, and trying to figure out how to play high intensity and much more physical competition in the Premier League. So I'm gonna go down, you know, later on, like on how everyone did individually, right? So as the game goes on, right, you had moments where Weah was testing the goalkeeper, Christian Pulisic was testing the goalkeeper, Ferreira had a very wonderful chance early on, but in that moment he needed to capitalize more. I think what he needed to see that Weah was actually on his right side, pass the ball, and then he would have tapped it in. I think Ferreira as a nine is very interesting. I think he plays as a false nine. I know he's been playing really well with FC Dallas, but at the same time, I just think for him, he needs to, I think, figure out a way to get that club form into the national team form, because the national team form is a lot faster, it's a lot more physical, and you don't have that much time on the ball. You only have maybe a couple of seconds or even a split moment, and in that moment, you have to make a decision, trying to make sure that you make the most of your opportunities, right? So later on in the first half, on around the 32nd minute, you had Aronson and Musa kind of combining with Weah. And Weah, I was so surprised he had so much time on the ball, and he just hit a thunderbolt, a cracker, a firecracker of a long shot. And it's funny that Spalna should have done better on that. He was positionally wise as a goalkeeper. He was really bad. He should have gone a little bit closer, but it just bounced off, deflected from his gloves, and just went into the net. No keeper was going to stop that, especially if you were in Bono's positioning wise. So already Morocco, were already shell shocked from the beginning, and I was shell shocked. I didn't think that it was going to be that much of like of intensity by the United States already from the get go. And as the half went off, Aaron Long got a yellow because he was he needed to basically block the play. There was a lot of free kicks that Morocco actually had to do, because of the fouls that Aaron Long and Zimmerman and Reggie Cannon, Anthony Robinson had to do, and overall, uh, Turner wasn't challenged enough, but he did really good. He did tremendous saves. Right now, I think if I had to choose between Turner and Zach Steffen, I would pick Turner in a heartbeat right now, because he's the guy that's been playing most consistently with the United States. Zach Steffen, didn't show up to camp because of family problems, and instead of you know getting another goalkeeper, uh, Greg Berhalter, that was unfamiliar. He got Sheen Johnson from NYCFC. So we might see him play later on, probably in the Nations League games, to see how it stacks up. Because if Zach Steffen doesn't get any more playing time with Man City, I'm kind of nervous. I wouldn't be comfortable with him being a goalkeeper, because there's a difference between playing in the reserves and playing actually league play. So, and then that's kind of my worry about Turner as well, because he's going to go to Arsenal this summer. So he's going to go with that club, and I know he's not going to be the number one keeper unless something dramatic happens. Like if the number one keeper of Arsenal, for example, gets injured and can't play, then Turner has to play all those games. So I'm not saying that I want that to happen, but I know that Arsenal is probably going to play a lot of games, but it doesn't give me confidence. I would love to have just a solid goalkeeper that has consistent minutes. And from what I'm seeing is we never had this type of goalkeeper problem before. And now looking at this, going with Qatar later in this November, I wouldn't be surprised. Don't be surprised if you see Sean Johnson from NYCFC being called the main goalkeeper come Qatar. I'm not saying it's gonna happen. I'm just saying don't be surprised if it does, because he's gonna be the only keeper playing consistent minutes in his club team. Right. All right. So going on. So at half, it ended at 2-2, at 2-0, I mean. And after that, Greg Berhalter said that he was going to make some substitutions, right? So he substituted three players, right? So it was Walker Zimmerman went in for Walker Zimmerman went out, CCV Cameron Carter Vickers went in. Then Anthony Robinson went out. Joe Scally went in for making his first cap right there. And then also, I believe I'm trying to remember who else went in. I think that was it. Yeah, I think that was it. So, because there was other substitutions later on. Oh, and then Ferreira went out for Haji Wright, and that was his first cap right there. So on the second half, we saw a little bit more of the same, but the intensity level kind of went down from both sides, right? Because Morocco kind of already knew that uh, they were losing the game, and they would need some sort of miracle to get this game going, right? It would only happen, and there was actually an instance where Joe Scally actually was penalized for a penalty that was non-existent. If you look at that replay again, Joe Scally did not even touch or hit that Moroccan player that bad. But then, since there's no VAR on friendlies, you can't tell, right? So if it was a World Cup, that would not be a penalty, 100%. But it didn't matter because at the end, the Moroccan player basically hit the top post, and Matt Turner and his defenders were able to, uh, you know, get that ball out. And the ball doesn't lie, right? So as the game went on, there was a sequence that everybody's talking about where they're playing out of the back, and you're seeing that combination play where Turner is, playing with his defenders, going back with the defenders, then hitting, Musa, then Aronson, then Christian Pulisic, then going with Aronson all the way, and then he just needed to, tap a little bit behind, and Haji Wright would have been there perfectly to, get the ball into the back of the net. But there was another penalty awarded for the United States, and that was 100% a penalty because Pulisic got hit pretty bad. And it's funny because we all thought that Pulisic was going to hit the penalty, but it wasn't. It was actually Haji Wright. And a little bit of Haji Wright, he actually was teammates with Pulisic, Adams, and McKennie, and Luca de la Torre back when they were in the U17s, right? So it was like a wholesome, heartwarming moment. Wright basically put it in the back of the net, and that was basically game over, right? After the 64th minute. And after that, there were some, attempts here and there, but you can kind of tell that they didn't want to play as intense as possible because Morocco has to play qualifiers for the African Cup of Nations. And then the United States knew that there was another game on the horizon against Uruguay on Sunday. So at the end, it was 3-0 the United States. Very convincing performance, I would say, in the first half. It does show from the beginning, from what I'm seeing, that the United States has options, midfield options, right? They're playing this nice style type of game that we never saw before during qualifying, right? And I think the big thing is like when it's qualifying, when you're talking about playing against Honduras, when you're playing against El Salvador, when you're playing against, any type of the Caribbean teams, right? It they play a different way than what African teams or European teams or Asian teams play, because a lot of those teams they might not have, the stars, so they bunker in as much as possible. So you have to kind of like get away from the low block. Now, mind you, Morocco was playing five on the back, right? So the United States, this was a good test for them because if you were playing against an opponent that plays a low block, right? Like there could be an example where you see an Iran or you might see a Ukraine or Wales that plays, bunkering in the back or a low block. This gives you a kind of like a good blueprint of how to break that open, especially if you have those type of midfielders. Like if you have Pulisic, Weah, Ferrer, Aronson, you have Luca de la Torre. Then imagine when Weston McKennie is healthy or Gio Reyna is healthy, right? So that is a big difference right there. So I'm excited. Like imagine if we had all our players healthy for this game, like the main players. If we had McKennie, if we had Gio Reyna, if we had Ricardo Pepi, playing, as he did when he was playing in his FC Dallas days, uh, you know, all those players, right? Or Miles Robinson, which, it's sucks that he's not available and he's probably going to miss the World Cup. But chin up, man. And just imagine if that team was there. Imagine that midfield. That would have been, whoo. I think that scoreline would have been much more in favor for the United States. So after that, so I'm gonna kind of analyze each player, right? So Turner did what everything he needed to do. There were some moments where he didn't do well playing from the back, and you can actually hear Berhalter screaming in the top of his lungs, telling Turner, "What the hell are you doing? You got to make sure you have to play the ball quicker because he's gonna go to Arsenal. They're gonna play fast tempo, and if he takes too long." And you have a good attacker that could take away the ball, that's going to be Zach Steffen mess all over again, like happened with him in the FA Cup with Man City and Liverpool, I believe. So you cannot have that happening in coming into the Premier League. So, but Turner did really good on many like hard stuff. He's a shot stopper. You cannot deny this guy's talent and how much talented he is, especially since the Gold Cup during World Cup qualifying, and now hopefully with better training with Arsenal, I can only imagine how high his ceiling is could be. So his ceiling could be high, right? So hopefully he can turn up against Arsenal. Reggie Cannon, I would say Reggie Cannon was very quiet. I would say there were certain moments where he was burnt by the Moroccan attack, and I think he needed better positioning. I just think that he needs to maybe take a break from the summer and really concentrate on his game. And Walker Zimmerman, he's basically our best center back at this very moment. He's the one that's most groomed, most veteran, I say. And let's not talk about his defense. Let's talk about how threat of an offense he is. You already seen remnants of that during the Panama game and other games as well, where he could be a threat. When they're throwing corner kicks, you already know he has the height advantage and he has the power advantage. He can hit headers, he can kick. And what about the passing that he did with Christian Pulisic when he hit that really nice ball and that Christian just perfect ball control, perfect ball movement, man. That's the type of vision. And already you can kind of see that Zimmerman has a good chemistry with Christian Pulisic. Like he knows where Christian wants the ball. Perfect. So I think he can make his game a little better, right? On certain aspects of defense, like not to get too cute to it. Like don't be too cute. If you need to, like just get rid of the ball. Get rid of the ball. Make it easy. Make it easy right there. Aaron Long. Okay, so Aaron Long for me was pretty average, I would say. Uh, I think for me, I think Greg Berhalter probably put him there for the whole game so he can get minutes under his belt, but he hasn't convinced me otherwise. I think I would have loved to see rather Zimmerman and CCV pair it up to see that. I think that would have been a better pair than Aaron Long. I don't know if these couple of games maybe he can change my mind, but I think if he does play against Uruguay, we might get some answers about that. But for me personally, I don't think Aaron Long convinces me because he was burnt so many times during that first half. And then in the second half, there was a moment where he needed to clear the ball as fast as possible, but he didn't make it. And I think if any other world class player was in that position, it would have made a goal against Turner, right? So Long needs to know tactics. He needs to do better position wise, and he needs to, uh, you know, elevate his game a little bit higher than it is now. Right now, it's not cutting it. Jedi Robinson, he is very good on the wing attack. Like when he becomes a midfielder on the wing, whoo, he's really good. And then that defense that he did against Hakimi, man, oh my gosh, he was really good. That attacking defense. So Jedi Robinson, pretty good. Very excited to see what's going to happen with him and Fulham when he goes to the Premier League. Aronson, what can I say? Aronson is the man, like playing in the middle, especially in this formation. What's not to like about this kid, right? And I'm so excited to see him in Leeds and being under Jesse Marsh, and then what he can do in the Premier League. But now we have another way of getting Aronson playing in the middle and in the wing, because if you remember when he played in the middle against El Salvador, he was non-existent, right? But since he's been playing more and more in RB Salzburg, he has been elevating his game. So he is good. He could be a dual 10 with Christian Pulisic. So that was good. Adams, what can I say? Adams was really good that game. He actually picked up some really loose balls, and he knows how to stop the attack from ever happening. So Adams needs more playing time, I would say. Musa, he has speed. Musa is a speed demon. I think that he needs to sometimes, you know, be a little calm sometimes. Don't rush it too long of the ball. He needs to just, if he has a chance to score, have that at it. Don't do cute stuff. Don't just get the ball. Something good will happen. Tim Weah, that rocket he did. That rocket he did was just fantastic. Like, what can we not hate about that? This guy was brought back from the ashes, right? And ever since he came back, um during that November window, and also that I believe November and October window, I believe, he has been phenomenal. He has been phenomenal. And we know when he kicks hard, that ball is in the back of the net. We saw that against Costa Rica. We saw that against Jamaica, and we've seen this against Morocco. So he has a crazy, crazy power strike. So hopefully he stays healthy after all this is over, take a break, and then get fresh for the new season in League One in France. Pulisic, was just awesome as always, right? That first touch he did by that Zimmerman pass, what's not to like about this kid, right? We already know. And then Ferreira was actually helping in getting those score uh, opportunities, right? So I think people like to hate on him a lot, but I think what he gives in this team is fluidity, right? But you can tell that he's a little bit 2 or 3 steps behind Pulisic, Weah, and Aronson. I think he needs to kind of get a little bit fast, and he needs to kind of make better decisions on the final third. I think if he can make better decisions on the final third, I think he could be a lethal weapon, because he had a moment where he could have scored the goal or passed it to Tim Weah, but he chose to try to hit it and it wasn't good. So needs to read the game a little bit. So let's talk about the substitutions that happened. So CCV was phenomenal, man. CCV, I've been calling for this kid to come to this team for a long time, but no, better late than never. And now that Miles Robinson is gone, he needs to be. I think that Zimmerman and CCV are going to be the pair that has to happen in the World Cup. Long just does not convince me whatsoever. He's more of a liability. And CCV, he has, experience with the Scottish Premier League, and he's elevated his game, right? Joe Scally, I would say Joe Scally was very absent today. There have been a lot of hype around this kid. I think that if he would have been in those games against Mexico and Jamaica and even some of the other World Cup qualifiers, I think he would have done a better job of, being in sync with the defenders. But because Greg has been taking so long for him to be integrated, I think that's what affected. So hopefully he's on Uruguay. I think I want to see more about him. I think I need to see more. Luca De La Torre, I don't know what's going to happen with his club situation, but I hope a big team or even a small medium team in Europe buys him. He needs to be bought. He is too good to be in the second division of the Dutch league. Like he is good on the ball. He knows how to break defenders. He is good. He is something that all fans have been asking for. Most majority of fans have been asking for. Luca De La Torre and another teammate of the U17s with Christian Pulisic. Um, Weston McKennie, he was very quiet, very timid, and that's very typical because he just got back from an injury. So not to take too much from him. So, and Greg did say that he was going to limit his minutes because he didn't want to have those same injuries to happen with McKennie. So, pretty good, pretty quiet. So maybe we'll see more of him against Uruguay. Let's see. Haji Wright, besides the goal, he was a little slow in some transition, but he knew how to link play. And I think having that recognition and having the past experience of playing with Christian Pulisic, Tyler Adams, Weston McKennie, Liquid Del Torre, it shows. It shows that they're in sync. They know exactly what they're doing, and he knows in what position he needs to be. So I think if his finishing can improve and maybe he can score a goal or two in the next couple of games, that will, get his confidence back. And I think we might see him as the number 9 or a possibility of a number 9. It's too early to say. It's too early. But I would like to see him against, higher opponents. And Uruguay should be the it. Since Ferreira started against Morocco's, I have a feeling that Haji Wright will start against Uruguay. And then Malik Tillman, he is something to look out for. I feel like I want to see more of him. He plays as the number 10. He does a very dynamic attack. Just from him getting the ball, you can kind of tell how fluid his team is, his movement is of the ball is, his awareness, and where he's dangerous. There was actually a moment where he was getting the ball by himself. He passed 2 defenders, and he was about to cross the ball. And if it was just by maybe a couple of inches, he would have actually had a good assist, right? So those are pretty good. And some of the substitutes that didn't play: Christian Roldan, Andre Yedlin, Eric Palmer Brown, Sheen Johnson, George Bello, Paul Ariola. We might see them against Uruguay. So we'll see about that. So overall, I think this is the United States team that beat Morocco favorably, but let's take it with a grain of salt that even though they are a World Cup opponent participant, they are all very tired from a long season, right? So, and at the same time, there is not a World Cup happening in the summer, right? Which is really weird. This is something we have to get used to. So I think a lot of them just didn't want to get hurt. They just wanted to take a break. And also they needed to save everything that's in the tank because they have to play in the African Cup of Nations. So they have more important games to play. And then the coach, you can kind of see they were pissed off. And I think there was like a rumor between the fans, Moroccan fans, where they don't trust the coach, and then the players don't trust the coach. That they would love to have a new coach before the World Cup, but it doesn't look like it's happening. So it's not just the United States having problems with their national team coach. All right, it happens everywhere. It's not just happens to us. All right, so for all you fans, U.S. fans out there that think that U.S. fans are toxic, come on, get back in line. There are other ones that are way worse, and it's not toxic, right? It's more of an argument, and we're trying to have a conversation, right? So, and then the next thing I wanted to talk about is something that everybody was just, ooh, it was just like the big hot topic that everybody thought it was out of proportion. But if you can read between the lines, you know exactly what he meant. So Christian Pulisic said something that a lot of people were very angry about, right? They were just angry about what he said and the way he said it. But if you read it and if you listen to what he's saying, he makes sense. He's not lying by any means, and he's feeling the frustration. So I'm gonna read exactly what Christian said after the game was over. All right. And this is what made a lot of people, um, you know, I guess mad at him, or basically, calling him names or something. It was just the stupidest thing. Like, just take, just take the criticism. Like, people just don't like taking criticism. And it shows right there. So I'm going to show you right here. So it says right here from a quote. It says, "I'm not super happy with the amount of Americans here, meaning USMNT fans. If I'm being completely honest, thanks to the ones who did come." Okay, listen to what he said. So he was not super happy the amount of American fans here, meaning that there were a lot equal, sort of, to the amount of fans that were US fans. So Moroccan fans were kind of the same number of American fans, maybe a little bit more, just by a bit. And that's what he's saying. Like, maybe he's saying it in a nice way that, look, maybe the venue is okay. I think it's not okay because Ohio already hosted like 4 games already. I think you should just share around, the United States. It's a big place. Or if your game is going to be in Kansas City, why not play in Philadelphia or New York or anything? Just and make it into bigger stadiums. And then the cost of going into a game, nobody's talking about that. The US Soccer Federation purposely put these games in very low number attended stadiums so they can make profit instead of elevating the game, instead of making the game accessible for everyone. You were listening to stories where the a ticket, uh, a ticket to a friendly. All right, we're not talking about World Cup qualifying. We're not talking about a World Cup, a friendly, and the best ticket costs anywhere between $80 to $100 before fees. Right? Add the merchandise, add the food, add at the parking, and then add if you want to add like more friends or families that want to come over. No. And why did Moroccan fans come there in full force? Because when are they going to see Morocco as a national team in the United States? It's not going to happen. It rarely does. So those fans, they're going to pay that high much money, right? But it wouldn't have happened in the same if US Soccer Federation put that game. I don't know, maybe they would have put it in a university campus, right? Maybe close to, a Texas or something, and make the tickets like maybe $10, $15, have it free for the youth kids, like the youth academies that are there. And that's how you feel. That's how you get the momentum, right? But if you keep out, putting profits before fans, this is exactly what's going to happen. And a lot of people were like giving hate to Christian Pulisic, saying, "Oh, you know, why is he being mad that there are no, American fans? We're all Americans." Yeah, sure. Maybe there were all fans that were Americans, but that wasn't the point. The point is that there were more fans of the opposition than the home team, right? And only in the United States is that the thing that happens, right? Anywhere else in the world, the home team always has a good turnout. But here in the United States, for whatever reason, it's always the opposite, right? So that was his thing. He wasn't saying that they were, Americans. It's just like US fans, right? And you can tell his frustration, right? And I think US soccer needs to share, like, Ohio, look, you thank you for the World Cup qualifying, but you're done. Let's move it to the West Coast. Maybe Seattle, maybe Portland. And yes, I know they have artificial turf. They need to change that somehow. They need to make uh, you know, fields and pitches that could be sustainable all year round without artificial turf, because artificial turf is horrible. They are the number one cause of injuries. Let me tell you. So after that rant, I will tell you that um, the United States did really well. Don't hate on Christian Pulisic, right? And let me just show you a little bit of what I'm talking about, right? So I'm gonna take away this, and I'm gonna show you exactly how much it is to go to a soccer game that is going to come up this upcoming Sunday, right? So that way all of you can know exactly what I'm talking about, right? So what what I'm talking about right here is that the US Soccer Federation, or US Soccer, is basically trying to, gain a profit, and they only want money. They don't care about elevating the game. They do not care about making the United States, you know, a powerful force in the world. They only care about money, right? And it shows. So look, this is the game that's going to happen this Sunday in Kansas City, right? So look at all of these ticket prices. You have 202, 98, 128, 162, 195, 206, 162, 371, 70, 303, 253, 80, 111, 140, 60, supporter stand 110. Now, the cheapest ticket that you can get is $60. That is the cheapest that you can get. Now tell me in this economy, who in their right mind is going to go to a friendly and pay $60, and let's say you want to bring the whole family or friends, right? It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen, and that is a travesty, right? That is a travesty. Now let's look at another game that's going to be popping up as well. There's the other Nations Cup, all right, against Grenada. Against Grenada. Okay, let me repeat that. It's gonna not a friendly. It's gonna be a cup of. It's gonna be the League of Nations against Grenada. Let's look at the prices here. This is gonna be in Austin, Texas, and the Q2 Stadium, right? So the cheapest ticket that you can find is $45, and it's all around here. Still too pricey, right? We're not playing against Brazil. We're not playing against Argentina. We're not playing against Germany. We're not playing against the World Cup defending World Cup champs. It's not happening. It's not. These are just horrible tickets. And now if you go to their national team, friendlies or homes, you're not going to see that. The I think the most I remember there was a game in Germany. It was a friendly. It was Germany against France all the way back in 2012 when I was studying abroad. I kid you not. I only had to pay 15 euros. 15 euros, right? And if you were a student, you can actually go down 10 euros, right? That's about 10, 15, $20, right? And even some of the club youth kids went out for free. And they went in a bigger stadium, and let me tell you, they filled that stadium up. It is just insane, the prices that US soccer is doing. Way too crazy, right? And this is exactly what Christian Pulisic was talking about. He probably couldn't say it everything, but this is what he wanted you to know. He's kind of talking to you in code because he knows that if he, moves out of line, he might lose some endorsements, because unfortunately that's how the ball rolls. So, don't be too hard on him. You got to be hard on who is at fault, and the fault is US soccer, because this was ridiculous. Way ridiculous. We need to go back to when the US were in football stadiums, where you can actually have a huge crowd. Sure, maybe have an opposition crowd, but you can turn those guys into US fans, right? That's just the way it works. So, after that rant is over, that we come to the conclusion of, what's next for the United States. So the United States is going to be playing Uruguay next friendly on Sunday. I haven't decided if I'm going to do a watch along. I might actually do a post game analysis, right? Because I actually have to go to the airport and pick up somebody, my lovely wife, from a trip that she's doing. So, yeah, I probably will not be streaming that day, but I will do a post game analysis. It might happen the day of, or I might wait until the next day, Monday, so that way I can review the entire game like I did today, right? So again, guys, thank you so much for joining me today with just giving my opinion of the post game analysis of the United States versus Morocco's 3-0 win. But overall, um, I'm excited to see what this group can do next, right? So we've taken care of Morocco's. Uruguay is next on Sunday, and Uruguay actually plays Mexico today on Thursday at the time of this recording and streaming. So we're going to know a little bit more about them. But it looks like that Uruguay is actually going to rest a lot of their top starters for Sunday because of the quick turnaround, right? So we might see a close to full attack of Uruguay, 100% Uruguay of what's gonna be looked at as their official team for the World Cup. But we'll see. We'll see. So again, guys, thank you so much for joining in, and also make sure you hit the leave a comment below. What did you think of the friendly that happened between the United States and Morocco's? What did you enjoy? What are some things that you were critical? What would be your starting lineup against Uruguay this upcoming Sunday? Write a comments below. And again, if you like the content, please hit that like button and also subscribe to the YouTube channel so that way I can continue doing these awesome post game reviews and also awesome live watch alongs. All right, guys. So again, take care, stay awesome, and also make sure you follow the United States, all the way before the start of Qatar because it's only a couple of months away, guys. It's all November is going to be here before we know it, and we're all going to be excited to see it. All right. So, again, guys, thank you so much for joining in. Stay awesome, and I will see you soon. If not on Sunday, I'll see you on Monday. All right, guys. Cheers.